So if we look at the health bar in Fallout Shelter, we see we've got um, from left to right, it creates a green bar for our current health, and our max health is going to stop where the radiation damage comes, and that measures from right to left. So if we're going to do something similar, um, we can create a UI bar above their heads, and we'll measure the current health left to right. We'll measure the environmental damage or radiation, whatever you want your game to be, from right to left. And then we'll have to create a code that says, you know, if your current health, just basically compare it. So, like, if our current health is 50 and our radiation is 50, then our max health is now 50. Or if we had, you know, 10 health and our radiation was at 25, then we would have to do the math and say, like, okay, well, your max health is 75. So whatever your radiation damage, and I'm thinking this is the way they did it. This is the easiest way I can think of, is we'll have a base max health of 100, and then your radiation damage subtracts from that, and then your actual current max health will be base max health minus radiation damage until your radiation is cured. So let's go back in here, and I'm going to just grab a couple UI assets real quick, and I'll keep it really simple so you can do this with just like basic primitive stuff as well if you need to. We're just going to need a frame, just like a rectangle or a square that we can use for our health bar here. And then we're going to just need probably just like a green square and a red square that we can stretch out back and forth to represent this. And then if you have the green frame around this, we'll have just like a black filler inside. And we'll have it layered so the frame will be behind the green health and the red radiation. So I'm trying to create the health bar, and this is an example one that I had an asset for. And basically what we did here is we created a canvas and we set the render mode to world space. If we had it as overlay, it would be out here and it would overlay the entire camera. That's not what we want. We want this to be on top of our character. And you'll notice that I have my character right here, and I have it so when he moves, this moves with him, because the canvas is part of the world space and is a child of our character's hierarchy. So I'll show you how this is set up. This is just a slider, and we'll make one based off of the one I have here. We're going to make our own. So we'll create a slider, and I'm going to use hold shift and alt, and that's going to make it the full size of the canvas that we have here. And you'll notice that it's kind of got some stretchiness to it, and that's because there are child objects to this as well, and we're going to have to update those. So here I'm just going to set everything to be the size of this, and we will adjust it. So now everything is contained on our canvas. Now I am using these sprites. You can use your own. You can draw some or find some. These are ones I found that I like. Ah, so our new slider does not have an image on it like this example one does, and I think it's would be a good idea to have one on here, um, because and let me disable these real quick. Um, this is gonna kind of be like our frame. And I like the way they have this set up, so I'm actually just going to copy exactly what they have here, as far as the positions and the height. And I did adjust this slightly, as you can see here in the scale. So, like I said, I'm going to copy this component. Um, you guys can copy these values if you'd like to try to fit it however you would like it to be. And let me move that down. So now we have our frame right here. So here's our background. And let's bring everything else back in. You'll see that everything's now fitting inside of our slider image and not in that giant square anymore. So this is my fill area, which might be also the background here. Let's check that out. Yep, that looks good to me. I may make it a little smaller for the frame to be visible, because I don't see my frame now. And I don't see like a layer system on here to make it visible beyond that. And you'll see here, theirs is not exactly perfect either. So it's okay if if you're overlapping a little bit, because when we go full screen into our actual game, you'll see it's very small and you're not going to have, you know, too much detail zooming in there, but you have enough where like you can still see it. And if you decide to have text for your game, you can add in a text value here to overlay on top. I don't know if I really want to have one in mind, but for the sake of example, let's just add one in. And it's just going to be a simple text mess pro, and I'll just write 100 out of 100. I'm not going to get crazy and have 1,000 like they did, or 999. And we could label this as text health bar health value. I think that's good. So let's see what this looks like if we start messing with our fill value. So that white right there is our fill. And they've got a nice green here that I like. And it looks like it's this kind of shape. And so I'm just going to use that same exact one. And that looks pretty good. Let's go back to my slider here. Check out. So that's what it's going to look like when we start to lose health. It'll go down here. So that looks pretty good. Now we do have this handle area. And this is supposed to be like the slider for the player if this was some type of object that they can move. See how I can move this? I can move the example one here as well. I don't want the player to be able to just change his health like that, so we are going to have to disable that in our slider settings. And we could just make it so it's not interactable. So now when we hit play again, I can't change it at all. Now alternatively, you could just use images and layer them like this and have the images set to filled. You could do it horizontal, and let me zoom in because this might not be the best example, but let me zoom in here. See this blue line? You can do that exact thing we did. So I'll do it with our fill area here. So if we didn't use a slider and we just decided to use our fill area, our image, horizontal, we could do it this way. Now you'll notice the problem with doing it this way is that it's almost like erasing the image instead of kind of sliding it. So that's why I like using the slider, because it's not erasing it, it's kind of like moving it over and like stretching out the rest of that green. And it just gives it a lot nicer look. Now we also have radiation damage. So what we can do here is we can also have a second slider on top of this that will create the radiation damage. So if we want to have our special damage or radiation or whatever that lowers our max value of our health, we can duplicate our current slider, and I'm going to change my fill to red, and I am going to tell it that I want it to go right to left. Now you'll see it's blocking our green, so we won't need a health value text on this. For our background, let's see if we need a background. I see fill and handle are required. I don't see anything for a background being required. So I'm going to delete the background. It looks like we have our slider image here that is overlapping, so I'm going to just make that transparent. And I can't see the handle anyway, but I'm going to make it transparent anyway. And now, if we change the value of this, we'll see that it overlaps. And this is kind of like how Fallout does it. When you receive your radiation poison. So when you would have your full health, it would go up like that. When we do our code for our health and our max health, the trick to this is just matching the values. So basically, where's our text here? This second number is going to be, our max health, but it's also going to be affected by radiation / special. And not just affected, but affected / subtracting radiation and special. And this 100, so that will be controlled by this bar here is our special. Is that this is going to be determining what our max health will be. And then, yeah, this 100 here will be our current value, current health. And that's just going to be affected by like the damage we take, but it cannot exceed whatever max health change is displayed here, if that makes sense. So basically, our green slider is our current health, and our red slider is our max health. But this max health can change depending on the radiation or special type of damage you receive. And we will go over that a little more once we start coding this out. But for now, we have a nice slider, and the only thing I see is this other frame they got going on here. And it looks like this is just another overlay image. And, we can create that too, just to make this look a little cleaner and nicer. So if I throw an image here, I'm going to maximize that again. Looks like they're using this one. And you'll see we should probably put this on the red because the red overlays everything. So I'm going to drag this over here. Hopefully that dragged over fine. Yeah, it looks like it did. And just going to zero that out. And it looks like they just used a very dark blue, I think. And you don't have to use the same colors as me. And the only thing I see that I don't like is we have this this overlap here. And so for this, I am going to slide it over a little bit. And for this one, if I slide this over, I'm actually missing it a little bit. And that's probably because of, what did I do? And that's probably because of the shape of my image. So if let's see if I have a maybe this green. Yep, see how that's more curved there? So I could just kind of tuck that in like that. And that looks a lot better to me. And then I think the red's fine, so we can work with that. And yeah, so now we have our health bar, and I'm going to try to recenter them. And just kind of have it like right there. I think looks good. And I'll move this more in the middle. Underlay. That's what I wanted. I'll give it just kind of like that, a little bit of a shadow. I think that looks good. And yeah, we can delete our example, and we have our two sliders here. So the only issue with this is that we're just going to have to make sure in our code that we regulate and adjust both slider values the correct way. Let's label this current health max health. And I should say rad damage. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. And that's how we make our little slider bar. And I feel like it's a little long, so I'm just going to grab both of them. I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. I think that's good. And you'll notice our text got shrunk, and that's okay. So yeah, I just readjusted the scale here, and I think that looks good. So when we go back to a room, our character flips facing left, but so does our health bar, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is just take the player object and vector 3's controlling the scale in the select object script. I'm just going to copy these and paste them, and we're just going to find the canvas health. Now we don't have to find this object the same way we found the player, because we know that this is a child of the player. So for this we can say player dot transform dot find, and the way this works is it finds the child by name and returns it. And in this case the name is just canvas, but if yours is different you'll have to make sure it's spelled the exact same way. And then it would be dot game object, because this is a game object. And then we will also have to set our health and the negative, similar to how the player scale is set up as well. So you could just copy paste this in. You want to make sure you're not using player, you are using player canvas health. And then for this one, we want that new vector 3 But again, we're not using player scale, we are using the canvas health scale. And if I look for where the player scale is, it's down here in the move player method. And again, we can just copy these. Instead of player, we want health canvas. And instead of player scale, we want the canvas scale. And in this, we want the negative scale. And we can save that out. And this should work. But let's check. There we go. So now our player can go back and forth without our health bar flipping on us. So if we come back to our player stats, this is where we have our health value. So if we want to set it up so we have this UI canvas connected to our actual health, we need to set up some methods here. So we're probably going to need a public void take damage. When we take damage, this will calculate and update our UI. We're going to have a death method, and when player dies, we'll probably have to disable movement, all actions, enable some sort of menu notifying that mission has failed and character has died. We also need to make references to this UI menu. So, like we did before, we need to see which asset has the value slider, which is right here. So this is the slider component of the slider current health. And then we also have this slider component for the radiation. So my slider isn't showing up here, and that's because we need to make a reference to the UI system. And I believe we said we had to reference health and radiation. So I'll put UI underscore current health. For this, we'll do UI current rad damage. And that's going to affect our max health. So in our take damage method, we're going to put int damage. And we'll just say if current health is greater or equal to we don't have a value for radiation damage, so we will need that. So I'm going to change this to current health, and I also want to have a max health. and I want to say if my current health is greater or equal to my max health, which is basically saying if my current health is 102 or even just 100 and my max health is also 100, then we are going to make sure that the current health does not exceed that. So this basically sets it so if our health somehow goes to 150 but our max health is 100, or if we have radiation damage and our max health is now 80, our current health will only go up to 80. Now if we're taking damage, we want to write something like our current health minus damage minus equals damage. And basically when this script runs and an enemy hits our player, it'll run this method. Say they get hit for 5 damage, our current health minus 5 damage updates, and if we're at 100, we'll go to 95. We also want to put in something for our to trigger the death of our character if we take too much damage. So we'll do less than or equal to 0, and that will just run our death script. And we could even just put a debug in here for now. It says player has died. Sad face. We're also going to need a method for the radiation if we take damage or get rid of it. I guess I'll just call it update radiation, and I'm gonna put an underscore for our damage here as well, just so that we can keep our naming convention a little organized. This will also be an int, and I'm gonna call this current. I'm going to try to call this current radiation. There we go. And similar to the health, we will lose current radiation. Actually, we would gain radiation from this. And then we would want to subtract our max health. So our max health, we could put minus equals current radiation. The problem with that is that if we have 5 radiation, like 5 comes through our method, our current radiation becomes 5. So our max health of 100 loses 5. So now our max health is 95. We take 10 more radiation damage. So now our current radiation becomes 15. And now we minus equal, we subtract 15 from this. So now we go from 95 to 80. But this is only 15. We should be at 85. So this would have to be written a different way. So I want to take the max health here and copy that line. I want to have a current max health and a base max health. And the base max health can be private, and we're going to serialize that just so that we can set our values. And I'm going to put that at the top here, put that there, just organize that a little bit better. So I'm going to create a start method here, and at start, correct these values real quick. So at the start, we want our current health, our current max health to equal our base max health. So if we set this to 100, our current max health is now 100, and we can now make our current max health, we can update that more properly here. So the way we really want to write this is our base max health, our current max health, and our current radiation. These are our three variables. So our current max health is going to equal our base max health minus the current radiation. So if we were to simulate this, if we had 5 radiation damage come in, current radiation becomes 5. Our current max health is 100 minus 5, so our current max health becomes 95. We get 10 more radiation damage come through. Our current radiation now becomes 15. So our current max health becomes 100 minus 15, so it would equal 85. So if we come back to our Unity interface here, we want to set our base max health to 100. We could set our current health to 100. I would put it anything over 1, because we also want to set that up here. So our current health should equal our current max health. Now the reason I say to make it something greater than 0 is just because we don't want to accidentally trigger our death at start if this doesn't calculate fast enough. So we'll have it defaulted at least 1. And I think all these other stats should be fine for now. We can get to them. We want to drag our health sliders in. And we didn't program anything for those sliders yet. So when we take damage, we want our current health dot value, and that value is right here. So let's put that all the way at 1. That's something else to note, is that this is a 0 to 1 scale. Same thing with our scale over here. So we want our value to equal our current health, but like I said, it's a 0 to 1 and we have 0 to 100, so we would divide that by 100. And I will put parentheses around it. And then same thing for our radiation. We want the UI one. And that will equal current radiation divided by 100. Doesn't like that. Oh, because we didn't write dot value. There we go. Okay, so we can see that our stats have populated here. Our current health, 100. Max health is 100. I think that's good. If you try to change these values here, like if I set my current health to 90, it's not going to update. I did write a script for these custom buttons in the interface. I'll jump into that in a second, but if I apply damage, I can see now my health is at 15, and I can apply radiation damage as well. And I notice my max health is 9, my current health is 15. So let's go to negative. I have negative 47, but I still have hit points. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So to correct that, so we want to calculate if our current health is greater than our max health, it should equal max health, which we have calculated right here already. We could add something like if your radiation damage exceeds 100, your character could die. Um, I don't want to add that in here because if it hits 100, your health is going to drop to 0 anyway. So, which would trigger this. So we want to put that in here as well. And the other reason I didn't want to say that radiation or whatever your ability you choose, if it exceeds 100, because we might have like radiation suits or upgrades or something else that might alter that value. So let's see if we can trigger this. So I'm subtracting 7 radiation here, and I'm also applying 5 damage. And looks like it's working so far. Let's see if our character will die. Player has died. Sad face. Great. Looks like we still gotta clean some stuff up, but we're heading in the right direction. And these little helper buttons I created, I will just show you that script real quick. You don't need to put this in, but basically I created this editor. It's a custom editor type of our player stats. So it works with this script. It applies to this script, player stats. And basically it is the type editor, which is different than mono behavior. It only works in the editor, is for developer use. So on inspector GUI, our inspector is right here, and you target your player stats. That's the script we're targeting. We called it player stats with an underscore. These are just custom settings that I put in for my label. So basically I have like a red font button. I don't have a string box, so I don't need that. This is the box right here that says Unity Editor Only. That's this one right here. And I've created these two buttons. One says apply damage, the other one says apply radiation. It uses the style that I've created up here with these margins and text colors. And this is what they do. This one applies damage, this one updates, this applies radiation. So I could create two more buttons, and I'm going to put them below just to give you a basic idea of how this works. And I will say heal damage, and let's just do -5, and I will call this heal radiation, and we'll do -7. And I can make them different colors if I wanted to as well, but that's up to you how you want to handle this. So let's see if we can heal above 100. We cannot. That's great. We can heal below our current radiation, which is not good. So that's another thing we need to update real quick. Where is it? Player stats. So current radiation, if current radiation is less than 0, current radiation equals 0. Now let's check out this one more time. Heal radiation, heal health. We are getting a little sneaky piece in there. I bet you we have something out of order here. Damage. Yep, so let's throw this one up here as well. See if we worked out all of our bugs so our player doesn't get extra health. Nope, current health 105 when we try to heal. So let's see what happens. We're getting -5 in here. We're getting -5 in our take damage. So current health minus equals damage here. So I copied the same exact thing here for some reason. Okay, so this should be at the top. Yep, that makes sense. There we go. Now we fixed it. Apply damage, heal. Our UI bar is working. Apply radiation, heal radiation. Now our current health isn't updating our bar there. The current health is updating, but our bar is not. And that needs to update as well. And if you're using those number values, we would have to update those also. So here is our current health. Yep, there it is. Great. So we can apply lots of radiation, take it away, and our health is at 23. And then we can apply some damage, and then our player has died. And if you are going to use this text here, we can update that as well. After testing out the slider on the radiation, we can see it goes over our text health bar values. So since this is in front, the text will also have to be in front. And then we can also go into our player stats. Also, I changed these colors. Not a big deal, but basically just applied more label styles. Made it a little cleaner looking for me. But we can go into our player stats here, and we want to add in another value for our health. And this is a Text Mesh Pro. So we're also going to tell it that we're using the TextMesh Pro library. Maybe it's TMP. TMP text. There we go. And that's it. So now we can tell it to update these values when we take damage. And we'll have that calculated right here. I guess that could be above this one. And then we would put in our string here. So we want our current health value. So our current health actually. Plus probably a space and a slash. And then we'll also want our current max health. And then we should also have this in the radiation here. I wanted the whole line. There we go. Let's see if this updates. So we have 100 out of 100. Let's hide those gizmos. Apply radiation damage. 72 of 65. So that's not correct. So let's see. It's probably the order here. Yep. I think it needs to be down here. And this is why I test everything that we do. I know it takes some time, but now we know it's done correctly. That's good.